Good morning, everybody. Curtis Wilkerson here with Inside Arkansas and the Pod at the Palace. Happy game day to those who still celebrate. Arkansas is either going to end its misery or get put out of its misery at Missouri today. How about that? You see what I did there? Hey, nothing like a trek up to Como to get back on track, right? Wrong, unfortunately. This ain't Dennis Gates Tigers. Actually, it is. Yes, it's still Dennis Gates Tigers. Even after going over last season in SEC play, he's done a masterful job of getting his own program back on track. And they're kind of a buzzsaw right now. Arkansas seems to be catching these teams when they're playing their best basketball for whatever reason. It's kind of ironic, how Arkansas fans this time a year ago, they were kind of annoyed by Mizzou fans. Like that was the social media rivalry, right? Got on their nerves, a lot of back and forth. And then Razorback fans, I mean, we roasted those dudes relentlessly as they kind of piled on loss after loss. Now, if Missouri fans are returning the favor in kind right now, we sure as hell can't hear them over the constant whine that just won't go away over in Lexington. But, at any rate, I don't know. Every time I've thought about this particular game, it's 5 p.m. In Columbia on SEC Network, by the way. I keep getting taken back to Birmingham when myself, John, and Andrew, we went to SEC Media Day, and every single time we looked up, John Calipari is trying to yuck it up with Dennis Gates, joking with him, hand on his shoulder, little playful punch in the gut. It's like they were old pals, long lost friends, except it could not have been more one-sided than it was. Like, it was just so obvious that Dennis Gates did not give a damn about that interaction. He couldn't have cared less. It was weird. It was kind of awkward. And it kept happening over and over. And we're just like, what's going on here? Whatever. Now, the game itself, Arkansas's had some success, really some wild memories here recently over at Mizzou Arena. Now, last year, it's not like SEC play went particularly well for Arkansas either. But they did win in Columbia, one of the few SEC wins that they had. Mekhi Mitchell went crazy in that game. I remember that plain as day. He had 19 points, 14 rebounds, just a dominant double-double. One of the best games he played as a Razorback. 2 years ago in Columbia, Arkansas lost that game by 3. And if you remember, it was the one where the SEC officials came and issued the apology or said they got it wrong because of that botched charge call. That Eric Musselman was not happy about. He wasn't happy about the free throw disparity. He damn sure wasn't happy about that call. Don't blame him, but that was a rough one. I remember that game. That was also the game where Jordan Walsh didn't miss a shot, but he only played 12 minutes because he fouled out. Just an irritating game. Tough loss for the Hogs there. 3 years ago, Arkansas went in there and blew them out. That was a really good Arkansas team and a really bad Missouri team there. 4 years ago, both teams were really, really good. And, Missouri had come to Bud Walton Arena earlier in the year, and they handed Arkansas their first loss. That was the game that Musk got ejected from, and he was just not a happy camper. They didn't have Justin Smith, but they really struggled with that. You remember Jeremiah Tillman? They really struggled with him. Well, they go back to Missouri later in the year. I think both teams were ranked at that point. Arkansas wound up winning that game in overtime. Shout out Jalen Tate. That was a lot of fun, but some good back and forth between these programs in Columbia in recent years here. I think Arkansas, I saw on Hog Stats, they're 13-17 there all time. So a little below 500, but when you're close to 500 overall against an SEC opponent on the road, that's usually a pretty good sign that you hold your own. They do have some common opponents so far this season. Arkansas won that exhibition over a not full strength Kansas squad. Arkansas wasn't either. But Missouri really smacked Kansas around in Columbia. And that's a big-time rivalry game for them, obviously. But it went to show you when Missouri basketball is playing well and they're exciting and the fans are actually engaged, that can be a pretty darn rowdy environment. And it certainly was for that game. And I think that's what Arkansas is going to be walking into on Saturday, a completely different world from what they saw over at LSU, which was kind of a semi – I don't want to say empty, but it just wasn't a real juiced up arena over there for a road environment. And you have to prepare for that a little bit differently. It's kind of like Miami, right? Same idea. That's different than the real hostile environments like Arkansas faced at Tennessee and like they're probably going to face here in this game Saturday at Missouri. But At any rate, yeah, they both played Kansas. Both teams beat up on Pacific. We know on Thanksgiving Day, Arkansas really got kind of blasted by Illinois on a neutral floor. A few weeks later, Missouri played them. That's another rivalry game, bragging rights thing they do in St. Louis that I used to go to when I lived over there. And Illinois won that game, but it was only by 3. That was a hotly contested game. Missouri blew out LSU in Columbia. Arkansas obviously just lost to them in Baton Rouge. Florida comes to Bud Walton Arena, beats Arkansas in Fayetteville, and then Missouri promptly goes down to the O-Dome and beats them the other night. So there you have it. It's kind of interesting, the trajectory, right, that these two teams have taken here, because they had very, very similar bodies of work throughout non-conference. Like, through those first 13 games, they might have had the exact same record. Both of them had a couple decent wins there, but you were still kind of looking at both teams thinking, where are they really at? Like, how far along are they? Where do they fit kind of in the pecking order here? Well, we kind of know the answer, at least as of Saturday, January 18th here. Missouri's a team that's shown some clear improvement. They opened SEC play at Auburn and lost that game by 16. We're never really in it, but they've won 3 straight since then, and they've taken advantage of the opportunities that they've had in front of them, which was, beating a bad LSU team at home, beating a bad Vanderbilt team at home. But then they went down to Florida and took care of business. I mean, job well done. Arkansas squandered those opportunities so far, and they've taken a massive step back. We don't have to get too far into it. We know they're 0-4. They need to win a game. There you have it. At Auburn, that Illinois game, and then at Memphis in the season opener. Those are the losses for Missouri this season. They're 14-3. They're 13-0 at home. So Arkansas is looking to hand them their first loss in their own building this season. And when you watch these two teams play, I got to be honest, the biggest differences that I see right now are toughness, energy, and togetherness. I hate to say that. I really do. It makes me sick to my stomach, but it's true. Missouri plays hard as hell. I'll give them credit for that. They're aggressive. They're together. They play with a ton of confidence. Really a gritty team, and they play well together. Arkansas, right now, they're just they're a team still trying to figure out what motivates them, it appears, and that is alarming. That's a red flag at this stage. They need to figure it out sooner rather than later. We know about that. Now, Dennis Gates, as a coach, I think he does a really good job. He's really good about, and they're not great defensively. I think they rank outside the top 70 at KenPom. Let me pull it up because I want to make sure I'm speaking truths here. 72nd in adjusted defensive efficiency at KenPom, but I really like the way he maxes out some of the things that they do. What makes them good on that end of the floor is they're able to generate a ton of turnovers. And the way he does that is he switches up defenses really well, picks his spots. They'll run man, they'll full court pressure, they'll do some run and jump, they'll do some 3/4 court press, they'll switch to a zone. They have different looks out of that zone. They really, really mix things up well, keeps opposing offenses kind of back on their heels. So it's going to be really important for Arkansas in this game to take care of the basketball. You cannot go on the road and have a bunch of live ball turnovers. For the most part, Arkansas has been pretty good about limiting the overall number of turnovers in SEC play, but my goodness, they really have them at the most inopportune times. Like, I keep thinking about John L. Davis late in that game against LSU, just grabbing that loose ball there and just turn around and dribbling it right off of his leg out of bounds. And it's so frustrating. I think I screamed out loud on our watch party. He screamed out loud. People have been looking for emotion from him. He let out a big yell. It's like, just that kind of frustrating stuff Arkansas keeps doing. When you're not shooting the ball particularly well, not getting a lot out of your half-court offense right now, you can't add on to that by having a bunch of turnovers, giving up a bunch of offensive rebounds. We talk about shots on goal and just the importance of keeping that as equal as possible for this Arkansas team. It's going to loom large in this game for sure. The other thing about Missouri, they shoot a ton of free throws. So if you've been waiting to complain about, officiating and free throw disparity and, all those different things here, despite Arkansas's other struggles, this is probably going to be another opportunity for you. Missouri's third in the country in free throws per game. They shoot 29 free throws a game. That's crazy. Arkansas has done that like twice this year. They do that on average. And so the Hogs really can't afford to put Missouri on the line that much in their own building. Especially, like when Arkansas has been so inconsistent there. Um, Sometimes they get to the free throw line quite a bit and they miss a lot. We know it's not a very good free throw shooting team. They got there 35 times or whatever it was against Florida, and they missed double-digit free throws. That's happened to them a handful of times here. In other games, you see that they only get to the stripe, what was it, 11 of 13? So they shot well at LSU the other day, but only 13 compared to LSU's 28. And that wound up being just a huge thing that stood out in the box score in a game that you lose by 4 points. So, Arkansas was awesome, I thought, throughout all of non-conference play in terms of defending without fouling and defending well without fouling, but that's dipped quite a bit in SEC play. They're going to kind of need to right that ship a little bit just to stay in it in this game, in this type of environment. Now, personnel wise, I thought the Tigers did some good work putting this roster together. Tamar Bates was their leading scorer last year, a wing from Indiana. He's back. They've got a couple young guys who have gotten a lot better and really emerged into some good roles for them. We're talking Anthony Robinson in the backcourt, Trent Pierce, an athletic forward for them. Caleb Grill is healthy. That's a big difference maker for Missouri. Former Iowa State guard. This is just a guy who I'm trying to think who I could even compare him to of players that we've seen in the past at Missouri. I'm not really sure, but here's the thing about him. He might be a complete no-show, but he might also come out and hit 8 threes on you in a game. And he's done both multiple times this season. I think he went 6 for 10 maybe from 3 against Florida the other day. So Arkansas is really going to have to find him on the 3-point line. They went and got Mark Mitchell from Duke. You guys remember him. He's kind of their version of a Duke Thero. And that, to me, is probably my favorite matchup to watch going into this game. I think they're very similar players, very talented, just elite level athletes. That's going to be a fun one to watch there. Tony Perkins, they went out and got him out of Iowa. He's like you guys remember Nick Honor from Missouri the last couple years? He's like Nick Honor 2.0, right? Just a thick veteran lead guard that does a lot of really good things for them. I think he's a better player than Nick was, but he's good for him. And the main thing was, like, the last several years, Missouri's really just kind of gotten killed in the post. And credit to them, because they went out and got the hog hunter himself, Josh Gray out of South Carolina, not scoring at all for him, although he scores on Arkansas regularly whenever they see him. But he's really been a key on the glass for them, and it's changed some things around the rim. So he's been a really, really underrated addition there. So we'll see how Arkansas is able to handle that. And I mean, we could sit here and talk about, all the nuance and the X's and O's and the keys, and is Cal going to switch up the lineup and all that? But we know what this comes down to, right? It's really a couple things. One, how much mental toughness does this Arkansas team have, right? Like, are they going to finally come together here, or are they going to fold at the first sign of adversity? Whether that's getting out to an early lead, and then as soon as you have a turnover and the opponent hits a 3, you just kind of tuck your tail, let them back in it. Do you get down and the crowd's on you early? Do you fold, or do you fight back? What's that going to look like? Are we going to have to hear about them playing with joy? Or are we going to see them play with joy throughout the course of a basketball game? Is there a such thing as a gut check for this group? We're waiting to see. We'll find out. And then, do you have enough contributions to get it done anyway? Because you're not going to win a lot of games, in the SEC here with 2 or 3 guys playing well for you. And that's kind of where Arkansas has been. Cal says, hey, we got 9. We got to get something out of everyone. That's true, but you also got to have more than like 1 or 2 dudes play really, really well in a game for you. These guys got to start bringing it, in my opinion, at least. Can we get more efficiency from Boogie Flan? The scoring numbers have been there. The assists have been fine. The turnovers, he's done a pretty good job of keeping low. I can give him credit for that. But we can't keep having the 5 for 20s, the 6 for 18s. Arkansas needs him to be more efficient there and more well-rounded, and frankly, better defensively. It's going to be a big one. Arkansas's guards have really had a hard time keeping opposing backcourts out of the paint and limiting straight line drives, and he's been a big part of that. So he's got to step it up defensively for Arkansas. Can you continue to get some consistency out of DJ? I thought he's been coming around the last couple games here. Can you get anything at all from John L. Davis or Carter Knox? Like, can one of them be a net positive for you? Hey, can you get double digits out of John L. Davis again, and then just avoid the 3 turnovers in the second half, maybe? That would be a nice change of pace. We talked about Thero and maybe his ability to neutralize Mark Mitchell. I love that matchup. And then can Jonas Adu can he look like an all-league big man against a guy who's big, strong, and physical, but's been a career role player in the SEC? We'll find out. But man, you can't orchestrate a turnaround without getting the first one, and here we are, Arkansas, not where you wanted to be, but look, backs against the wall. You kind of been the butt of the joke in the league. You're in the basement in the league. You're an underdog in this game against a team who is flying high, but we know how this works. They're also due for a natural letdown after going on the road and having a huge win. You see it all the time. Teams do that. Then they come out in their next one. They're feeling good. They have a favorable matchup and they come out flat. Are they going to do that? And can Arkansas take advantage of it? And then, I don't know, let's see what John Calipari dragging a team across the finish line actually looks like. Because this is about the time every season, so I've heard, that his teams start to figure some things out and start looking better and start playing basketball. I don't know that we've been seeing signs of that being on the verge of happening with this Arkansas team, but historically speaking, I guess I should say. But I tell you what, I'm going to go out on a limb here, and I'm calling my shot. I think this is where Arkansas gets its first win in SEC play. Why do I say that? Depends on how long you've listened to me. You already know. Remember my motto when it comes to Arkansas versus Mizzou in the two major sports. I never predict Arkansas to lose to Missouri in basketball. I never predict them to beat Missouri in football. That's where we're at. It's been tried and true, and more often than not, I've been right. So that's what we're going to go with in this one. And regardless, we will be live when it's all said and done, immediately following the Final Horn for the Pod to Palace postgame show. So make sure you tap in with us for that. But I'm going to get out of here. Hope everybody enjoys their Saturday. Enjoy the game. We'll see you afterwards. It's been Curtis Ferguson with Inside Arkansas and the Pod to Palace. We'll catch you guys later. Have a good one.